I'm Mike Brazell. I'm curator of the National Skeet and the National Sporting Clays Museum and Halls of Fame. We have a lot of things here. We have displays on individual people. We have displays of guns, old traps, reloaders, ammunition, all sorts of things, pins, patches. And we have this timeline that runs on skeet, up and back. It's more or less a chronological history of the game as we're able to present it. The sporting clays section is generally over in this area here. We'll walk over that way and go to the Texas State Sporting Clays Association cabinet, where they display their champions and their Hall of Fame members. As we go on down, we have two trophy cabinets that are dedicated to sporting clay shooting, including the National Championship and the World English Championship. Okay, this is the Cusack glass ball collection, donated by Mike Cusack of Willow City, Texas. And he collected these over a number of years and was kind enough to donate them to the museum. It's a good example of some of the earliest targets that were ever used at any kind of clay pigeon shooting, or what later became clay pigeon shooting. This is a launcher for another type of target called a tar ball. Here's some various memorabilia of the starting of sporting clays in this country, where sporting clays originated in England. And it all started off with Hal DuPont having a shoot down in Houston, and all the movers and shakers from the skeet world were there. So that's pretty much where it got started. This is our champions wall from the national championship. I have a picture of each and every national champion from 1989 being the first year up through the present. And they're going to have the 25th anniversary will be later this month. We got Charlie over here. This is what we imagine that a trap boy would look like out in the field. Early sporting clays, throwing them on an old hand trap. And there's a barrel of the way they used to present or ship the clays. I don't remember how many it held, 600 I think. This trophy cabinet here was donated by one of the sporting clays members, Jerry Quinn, and the other one was donated by the people that have held the U.S. Open Sporting Clays Championship several times. This is the Hall of Fame for our sporting clay shooters. These are people that have been inducted by their peers for their shooting abilities, and then on that far wall, people who have been inducted for contributions to the game other than shooting skills. We have our brick wall here that anybody can buy a brick and put their name on it or whatever else they want on that. This is the past presidents of the National Skeet Shooting Association from 1947 to present. That's the new National Skeet Shooting Association. The original National Skeet Shooting Association was owned by the National Sportsman Publishing Company. And they ran the whole program up until World War II, but they were no longer interested in doing it after the war was over. So the members got together and formed the new association, which is a membership association. Anyway, these are all our past presidents. Current president, Bobby DeFrancisco. This is the first 4-gauge set ever made. It was made by Jack Lefevre for a then young man, now 90 years old, named Ben DiOrio. Quite a famous shooter back in his time. Still alive. Okay, this is a cabinet dedicated to Wayne Mays, who passed earlier this year. Got his famous 12-gauge gun, Blondie, his world championship ring, of which he won 43. Normally they put a diamond on for every gauge you win, but they settle for 5 on his. So that's the way that went. Anyway, this is to Wayne. There's going to be more on him because he was one of our greatest champions. We don't know what context it's going to take yet, but that'll be up next year. This is clay targets, collection of various different kinds. I'm still looking for the machine that throws that big one. And I think it might have been a display item. That came from England, by the way. There's a couple of cabinets here, cabinets that display old types of traps and the controllers and so forth, some old targets that we used in yesteryear. Some of them are completely manual, some of them are electric release, but not, they have to be hand set. More here. This cabinet is is dedicated to Todd Bender, another great shooter. One of his guns, a little bit of memorabilia, all these All-America patches going back 30 years or so. This back corner here is mainly dedicated to military skeet. The military had a big part in supporting the game over the years. This is the Armed Forces Skeet Association Hall of Fame. All of their members from 1990 to present. Memorabilia, trophies, more trophies. This back wall is the Ray Bowler Award, which is the National Skeet Shooting Award to persons who made vast contributions to the game. Not necessarily their shooting skills, although some are in both the Hall of Fame and on this wall. This is our national championships for skeet, the World Championship. All the winners from 1935, which was the first one, up through last year. You might want to get a close-up of this one. This is 2008, when Wayne Mays and Todd Bender were declared co-champions. This cabinet is dedicated to the Great Eastern Championship, which for years was held at the Lordship, Remington Gun Club in Lordship, Connecticut. And one of the oldest skeet shoots continuously running. It still goes on today. They no longer have the ranges at Lordship. They've moved it around so much. Lately it's been held at Richmond Gun Club in Richmond, Virginia. This cabinet is dedicated to lady shooters on skeet. Some of our most famous ladies are featured in there for their different achievements. This swing panel, we call it display. There are a lot of reproductions, prints of paintings by William Harnden Foster, who is recognized as the father of skeet. And his profession was as an artist and illustrator for magazines. Anyway, we collected up a lot of those, and they're just for interest. There's some other panels that are dedicated to different states and so forth. This cabinet is one of two that house guns that belong to famous shooters mostly. This one here was the winner of the first national sporting clays champion. The gentleman donated it to us. We've got all kinds of different guns from different people in here. Highlight the old industry class shooters, in other words, people who made their living in the shooting industry, and at one point in time they were not allowed to shoot along with the regular people. They had a separate class. Jimmy Paul, the famous Remington pro, probably being the main guy, but there's a lot more. Okay, this is our National Skeet Shooting Hall of Fame. It was started in 1972, and every year people are inducted for their shooting accomplishments, and these three here being the latest for 2013 that were just voted in. And these go back all the way into the 20s and 30s, some of the older people in there. Quite a collection of shooters. Reloading and reloading equipment from some of the really old stuff, the hand ones, up to the more modern automatic machines. that different members have donated this stuff to us. Okay, these two cabinets are associated with the World Ski Championship. Basically, there's a few odd ones in here otherwise, but that is the active trophies for perpetual trophies that have been running for years that are still active. These are mostly ones that have been retired over the years, replaced by a new one or whatever. This thing here is, there used to be a club out of the northeastern part of the country called the Happy Pineapples. They disbanded a few years ago, and that was their 5-man team trophy, which they donated to the museum. This wall depicts our British Association members from the British Skeet Shooting Association, which is just like almost like a state association under the National Skeet Shooting Association. These two cabinets house our ammunition and ammunition boxes display. Various members have given these things all the way from everything you can imagine. There's some really old stuff and right up to the modern things. This wall is dedicated to Robert Stack, who most of you will know as Elliot Ness of the Untouchables on television. Famous movie actor, and his wife Rosemarie has donated all these items, pretty much all of them, to the association. Okay, this is our Junior World Skeet Championship trophies, all in the form of plaques that is updated every year. And this is from the Junior World Skeet Championship, which is held annually, and it moves around the country to different places. This is our referee honor roll, where we honor our referees. Every year we induct usually 2, this year 3. It's fairly new, it just started here in the last 3 or 4 years. This trophy was built by Bob Gerdes of Idaho. He built 3 of these. There's one here for the Skeet Shooting Association. There's one for the American Trap Association at their museum, and the NRA has the 3rd one. They're all pretty close to identical except for what's up front, you know. It's not really a trophy, it's just a symbol, I guess. This cabinet is dedicated to international skeet, which of course is usually controlled by a different association than the National Skeet Association. However, we do register targets under international rules. But this is just a lot of things that were won at the Olympics and Pan American Games by various different people. This cabinet is dedicated to a gentleman from California named Ken Barnes, and he was the first skeet shooter to ever shoot a perfect score of 400 out of 400 using the 410 for 100, the 28 gauge for 100, the 20 gauge, and the 12 gauge. And he did it all with pump guns, so quite amazing. Done back in the 60s, 1967. This section houses our library, which is information that's available to the members for research on their state associations, their clubs, and whatever. We also have a fairly extensive library of books on outdoor life.